Yeah, we'll probably get that set up.
Just be careful if I
I'll drop it.
That's awesome.
Is it? Yeah, okay.
That's Jim Henson style right there.
I love walking around.
Take that here for quantification.
Since I'm reading my sheet, I'll come right back.
Where you going, someone? You got out?
No.
No,
Just hang out here for a while.
you should hang out with me.
You and I are speaking the same language, Doc.
Definitely Diet Cola.
Alright, is everybody ready?
One sec, sorry, I'm waiting I had way too much shit. I'll turn it up.
I was prepared in a timely fashion.
Oh, excuse me, Mr. Warren.
The national champion cannot be bothered.
Oh, my computer would go fast.
Hey, I've got coaching sweepstakes.
Got it.
Then get that
Middle around. I would just text
Go for
it.
the link
No, Ben's T button is broken. He would never tell you to go for the link
Go
first.
for the L slash.
Swallow my iPhone number T and then 5 when you switch to numbers is dead, so I can't write most words, and we leave at the 16s and 46s this weekend. 15s and 45s.
Nice.
Start a timer this time. Okay. The United States federal government should reduce its strategic nuclear weapons arsenal to 0 strategic nuclear weapons. Again, the United States federal government should reduce its strategic nuclear weapons arsenal to 0 strategic nuclear weapons. Copy? Question? Solvency. First argument is that strategic nuclear weapons are the most threatening type of nuclear technology because they are awarded and aimed at specific high-value targets. Second is that they are the most destructive form of nuclear weapons. They are 10. They have 20 times the energy and potential of tactical nuclear weapons. Third is that second, strike capabilities still exist and the ability to destroy TNWs to destroy TNWs to certain targets remains. The fourth argument is that strategy presents strategic nuclear weapons present the greatest probability of miscalculation because these weapons are designed to be 2 or 3 fewer steps to launch. Or the authorization procedure, which means that a small number of people can start World War III. Thus, proliferation is the first advantage. Harm's first argument is that the spread of nuclear weapons into proxy theaters incentivizes proliferation among secondary allies. Little A is S&Ws in Turkey, or an impetus for Russian move to move their missiles towards Cuba. The little B is that U.S. proliferation in South Korea caused Russia and China to reluctantly support proliferation in the DPRK. The third argument is that proliferation in India caused Pakistan to proliferate. Second argument over here is U.S. exceptionalism with regards to nuclear weapons destroys our ability to bandwagon and kills our ability to make predictions about which countries are going to proliferate. Third argument is that the lack of U.S. reversal in nuclear foreign policy means that policies like START are ineffectual or irrelevant in the international sphere. Solvency first is that the plan removes S&Ws from proxy theaters, which eliminates all incentives for allied proliferation from Axis states. Second argument is that the plan demonstrates that Obama's commitment to reducing nuclear weapons stockpile. This is consistent with what Hegel has said about his interest in nuclear weapons reduction, which contains our allies and our enemies. Third argument is that the U.S. is incentive for international proliferation. This means because we invented and maintain a huge stockpile that causes other countries to proliferate in fear, which means that we are the linchpin country. Impacts forces that allied proliferate collapses U.S. hedge. Little A is it eliminates our ability to use territory to control to end war, because nuclear attack on the homeland would be a huge threat towards the U.S., which would cause us to embargo or to block its race. Little B is our ability. It eliminates our ability to create accurate predictions, which cause escalation because all threats seem bigger and better than they actually are. A great example of this is the 1% doctrine. Little C is Axis prolif kills our ability to police the world with conventional weapons because we can't contain other countries, and it creates the threat of proliferation creates proxy conflict that escalates to intractable wars like Iraq and Afghanistan. Little D is countries which creates military adventurism, for example, Russia and the Caucasus and Israel, everywhere. Second argument is the proliferation increases the probability of accidental launch, which collapses our predictive capabilities because we enter into cognitive state of crisis where we create the other into threat that needs to be eliminated. This makes extinction inevitable because there will always be another that needs to be eliminated. Also, proliferation reduces the barrier for conflict because we know that we have the big stick behind us. This means we're more likely to go to conventional war, which causes enormous amounts of violence, and could escalate to nuclear war. But even without this escalation, destroys the economy, be with the military transition, as we compete in a global great power war, which hurts people all across the world because many countries internationally rely on our foreign aid. Also, people rely on government for all aspects of life domestically, which means that we increase enormously the rates of poverty domestically and internationally. This is a huge quality of life impact and an internal link to dehumanization. Next advantage. Harm's first argument is that the world is held hostage by the threat of extinction because proliferation is defined by how we engage in politics. Little a is the logic of nuclear policy. After the Cold War, the world wanted to denuclearize South Africa and Uzbekistan, which was the third biggest nuclear arsenal, voluntarily surrendered their nuclear weapons. Also, no threat of nuclear powers, and even suggesting nuclear exchange was political suicide. Little b is distancing from Hiroshima and Nagasaki change when Bush brought literally all options to the table for political discourse. The threat of nuclear annihilation returned to the table, which caused further separation and deviation from previous stance on nuclear exchange from political representatives calling this as an option that was on the table. Little c is today we keep all options on the table with Iran, and Obama continues the Bush talk and Bush nuclear discourse, which means that the world is held hostage again by the bonds by the bomb. We think that countries like Russia and China who had stalled arms races have further started to rearm, which further indicates global nuclear anxiety. Solvency first is that we reduce the amount of strategic nuclear weapons to zero. This eliminates the idea that a nuclear device is usable. It calls into question the possibility of a nuclear war. Also, this gesture is necessary to have global ramifications. Look to advantage one for several examples of this. Also, nuclear weapon and nuclear bombs aren't acceptable for everyone. Nuclear bombs won't seem acceptable internationally, especially if we take a stance that even the U.S. even the world's Megatron is incapable of fundamentally handling the bomb, which is why we get rid of it. This is not a functional. This is a functional argument. It is not a discourse or a philosophical argument. We are saying that there is a radical political gesture that is necessary to stop a nuclear anxiety that exists internationally right now. The only way that we can move away from proliferation is to stop the way that we articulate this in political discourse. Impacts. First is that nuclear war is not experienced. The application of a very old word is likely to contain dangerously misleading elements. There is no war with nuclear war, only destruction and extinction. Nuclear annihilation or nuclear genocide, but not nuclear war, because there is no winner of a war, and war implies that someone would win the conflict. Little a is nuclear annihilation. Extinction this causes extinction of another population, for example, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and our weapons are worse now, which means that there's only a higher propensity for greater destruction. Also, the destruction of the self, because global nuclear anxiety means that countries like the DPRK proliferate knowing that they could be literally wiped off the planet, which means that they're making a suicidal move in the quest of accessing a bomb. This leads to things like, this also leads to enormous amounts of xenophobia, which is embodied in the bomb. The illogicality of nuclearism allows justifications for acts of genocide in an attempt to procure the bomb. In the 21st century, we can commit genocide on native lands via testing, power, waste disposal, and disposal of university research waste. This, we literally treat natives as a means, we treat natives as a means and not as an end, which means that we ethically hold them hostage by the bomb. We control access to who gets the bomb, which means that our xenophobia is embodied in our nuclear politics. White Europeans are seen as trustworthy, but people in Pakistan are not, which is a great example of how we put our ethics aside in favor of xenophobia with the justification that this is the most magnanimous impact. We think that nuclear winter becomes inevitable in this world because nuclear exchange kicks up, and it does, and especially when you're leveling a 21st century metropolis, which causes extinction.
Okay. Advantage 1, advantage 2, then 2, 3 on one bottom.
Okay, Norman solvency on the planet X, or is that disadvantages?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, what was your question?
Norman solvency on the planet X, or is it
No, just the advantages.
Sorry, can you say that again? I'll say it
Yeah,
one
no.
more time.
Advantage 1, advantage 2, and then 3 sheets of paper on bottom. Okay. Is everybody ready? First of all, a lot of your arguments about proliferation are inherently flawed. You say that proliferation happened because we put S&Ws in Turkey. This is not true. We only put TNWs in Turkey. We do not mobilize our S&Ws. That is because they are too fucking huge. They are not mobile. We actually mobilize TNWs, which are the smaller ones, and the tactical ones, which means that when any world in which we still last have tactical TNWs, proliferation will absolutely be inevitable because those are the things that are easiest to replicate, and they are the things that we actually use for deterrence because we literally put them in other countries. We have never put an S&W in another country either, except for that, we bombed someone. But that's not really the same thing. The next argument is that the United States is nothing to relate to proliferate countries have much of the reasons for proliferation. Example, this is India and Pakistan have reasons for proliferation that are entirely because of religious and ethnic conditions of the Kashmir, and that they want the biggest military might in order to fight each other. This has literally nothing to do to counterbalance the United States, since both of them are allies with the United States. The next argument is that China and Russia also have unique incentive to proliferate because they have a unique border with Russia over Mongolia. They have a unique border war with Russia over Mongolia. They even went into a war. They even went into the China-Russia-Mongolia war in 1969. In 1969, which is probably reason as to why the United States is not keeping up. The next argument is turning the case with action made, but actually make global cooperation worse. Couple reasons why this is true. The first argument, you can see that we're still going to have TNWs, which means that we're just going to put TNWs elsewhere and not have S&Ws at home. This is going to be a particularly bad. This is going to make the United States look super exceptionalist, because it shows that we are too good to have nuclear weapons, but we're still going to put nuclear weapons elsewhere in other countries in order to protect ourselves and protect our allies. This means it would always cause worse proliferation and welfare advantage. But the next argument is that that proliferation is absolutely going to be inevitable, and that there are reasons for countries to proliferate no. So it's not the proliferation inevitable, but countries have other reasons to proliferate that have nothing to do with the United States. Countries have a large economic incentive to proliferate. The example of this is our relationship with the United States. Pakistan has nuclear weapons. We give them a ton of aid because we want to be good allies with them versus Iran, who doesn't have nuclear weapons yet. So we sanction the shit out of them because we don't want them to get them. That means only a world in which more people have nuclear weapons would actually foster a better cooperation. But the big argument is that you can classify don't need this argument. Next advantage. The first argument is that you say that countries have incentive to denuclearize, and you give the example of South Africa and Uzbekistan. My response to this is, the United States was the diplomatic engager. We were the ones who engaged South Africa and convinced them to give up nuclear weapons, despite the fact that we had nuclear weapons. Probably an indication that having nuclear weapons does not mean that we still can't engage with the people. The next argument is turn Sorry, my next argument is turn that fear of extinction is always going to be a good idea, because it's what causes us to force proactive policies to choose that we should absolutely have a fear of nuclear extinction, so that we can solve things like genocide and global warming. The reason for this is that threat construction for extinction is always going to be a good idea. We do not intervene in things like genocide. We do not intervene to stop global warming because we do not actually believe that extinction is a real thing that is going to happen. We do not actually believe that there is a genocidal mindset that will one day cause extinction and make wars inevitable. And we don't believe that global warming is real. Only a world in which we actually emphasize that extinction is a real thing that can happen will we actually create policies to stop that. And until then, all of our policies will be inherently flawed and racist, because when a world in which you don't believe in things like a genocidal mindset, we honestly believe that the only impact of things like the Rwandan genocide was dead Rwandans, which means that having construction and having a fear of extinction is always going to be key to solving back to that. Next off. What if that Israel has multiple security concerns? Not only the constant fear of rockets from Hezbollah, but also they fear the Syrian conflict, particularly the one over Golan Heights, and they fear that Syria is going to try and take back parts of Israel. Additionally, they can be wiped out by just one nuclear missile because they are so small. The two argument is that the United States relations are strong continuously. We've given them over $8.4 billion in aid for our failure to bring around a fourth round of Iranian sanctions, as well as our failure to stop the Palestinian state observer status has left relations continually. The third argument is that Israel has proposed the third argument is that Israel has proposed aggressive policies within the West Bank, however they're refraining to do so because of United States pressure. They have proposed the E1 settlement plan to connect the Malah Abdumim with Greater Jerusalem, which would encircle an entire Palestinian neighborhood and connect it to Jerusalem. The fourth argument is the NASDAQ, so the key time this is because Netanyahu and Barak have indicated that they are watching the United States to determine how exactly their new appointments, John Kerry and Hagel, are going to affect United States policy towards Israel. The fifth argument is that Israel is felt secure under the United States nuclear umbrella only if we can force their enemies into the same sort of security situation like they have, because Israel is small enough that they can be locked up with a nuclear weapon. They want to make sure that their enemies have that exact same security concern. That's why they like S&Ws, because that forces everyone else into the same security concerns that they do. Next is the links. Plan gets rid of all S&Ws. The second link is that the plan is also going to action as the fear of losing United States support. There are arguments about how Barack Obama and Hagel said that they wanted to decrease the nuclear arsenal. Our arsenal happened 1993, Hegel actually be confirmed, which means that now is the actual time to see if any of those policies will be actualized. Interlinks. First argument is that this is going to cause the radical Zionists within the government to assert themselves and cause the project to continue. This is because people like Avigdor Lieberman and Wright Ariel are going to coalesce around the loss of the United States support and force Netanyahu to take aggressive action within the West Bank. The two arguments this is going to spark a massive retaliation from Palestine. They said that any more aggressive settlements would cause them to enact a third intifada against Israel, which would not lead to the impacts. The one argument would be that millions of people die within ethnic conflict when they're really just trying, when they're essentially just trying to genocide an entire nation of people. The second argument is this would absolutely cause the United States to intervene, which would turn back all of our arguments about proliferation in the United States trying to look behind. We would entirely warp the unique disposal of the plan. But the next argument is that this would also cause Hamas to act aggressively in a world in which they're literally encircling a Palestinian neighborhood and trying to kill everyone in it. Hamas would use their bioweapons against Israel, something that they have said that they would do before. This would not only kill millions of people, but it would cause the United States and other actors to get involved, which would not only kill even more people, but would probably actually risk the proliferation I was talking about, which means that this would skew the entire uniqueness of all your advantages. Either way, it would probably just cause regional extinction because of the spread of bioweapons. But additionally, if multiple nuclear powers fighting in one area is the only thing that would actually cause a nuclear shut-off, because it was likely that somebody would respond irrationally or someone would just accidentally shoot off a nuke. It would cause all the effects of your proliferation to vanish. Counterplan. The counterplan. The United States federal government, via normal means, will eliminate its entire present and future nuclear weapons stockpile except for its strategic nuclear weapons arsenal. Eliminate everything except for the SMWs. First argument is competition. We're all thinking mutually exclusive. You cannot eliminate the SMWs and keep them at the same time. The second argument is we're always going to be competitive through the disadvantage, because any decrease in the strategic use of nuclear arsenal past what we have already said we're going to do would always upset Israel's sovereignty. First argument is the plan would always have better proliferation and other arguments. I think we're always going to win. The SMWs are always going to be a better link to things like imperialism and the above being crossed by arguments. I can't why that's true. The next argument is that the counterplan would absolutely solve for Israel. This is because we maintain the largest weapons needed to actually protect them. Additionally, TWs do not matter with Israel because we do not have any sort of TWs within Israel. Additionally, we would also solve for Israel because they see the plan as the only thing that they need to increase deterrence. Additionally, again, you can just accept across how only keeping the nuclear weapons. How only keeps you. My next argument is we would actually solve better because we would prevent all war because we would never go to war in which we only have strategic nuclear weapons because no country would ever want to fight us because our only option would literally just to be to blow the country off the face of the map, which means we would actually stop all violence. But the second argument is this probably means that we would also never go to war with another country because we just wiped another country off the face of the map with our weapons. That would lead to massive retaliation and global extinction, which means that we solve the best inroads to all of your conflict.
Okay, order is going to be case, counterplan, disaster.
Are you going to be background or anything, or is it just advantages?
It's going to be, sorry, the song's page is going to be there.
Okay. Sorry, just
Let me know when you're ready.
Yeah, this should not take
Yeah,
so
it's going to
long.
be the background page, advantage 1, advantage 2, counterplan, disaster. Everyone good? Alvin said his block of arguments would say why strategic nuclear weapons are uniquely key to solving more than one AC case. First and second point that these are the most valuable destructive arguments, which means that other countries have an incentive to proliferate in order to respond to those other countries' how to have tactical nuclear weapons, which means they wouldn't have increased proliferation in order to counter the United States, whereas the world's strategic weapons, this proliferation becomes inevitable. This means all the effectively isolate to proliferation, so the increased possibility of miscalculation and obviously nuclear weapons for this for the terrorism, increase uniquely the world counterplan because people know that they have to have the United States in order to have strategic weapons in order to counter the United States next. One thing I'm thinking that's all over there. Next up, the argument makes him says that there's fewer steps to launching these, which means that these strategic weapons are uniquely key to miscalculation, which is 16 on advantage 1, so that way the disadvantage in addition. That's why you only allow for one-step nuclear policy where we hit a button and nuke someone is the only response to a threat. This is ridiculous. First on advantage 1, You make these arguments about Turkey, that's not addressing the fundamental claim of the permanency, which is the ability to have strategic nuclear weapons and the ability to protect our power across the globe. This is what leads to different types of proliferation places. Proliferation in different places uses actually used for deterrence. These strategic weapons are used for deterrence. They simply increase the ability for other countries to need to proliferate, which doesn't increase deterrence. Next thing makes the proliferation inevitable. This isn't true in a world in which countries are equal footing. There's no incentive to build up nuclear arsenals as well as other people doing this. This is even more true because there's a financial disincentive to doing this. So if we don't have to, when you have this large nuclear capacity, you literally have to take capacity away from every other area. This is why North Korea only funds things like nuclear technology. The world says, the next thing you make is U.S. is the eternal link to proliferation. You guys, India, Pakistan, China, Russia. You first of all, this China-Russia arguments from '69. I don't think this is relevant anymore. In addition, I said the trade ties are uniquely key. If you want to check the back side of proliferation, in increasing globalized world, arguments are outdated. India, Pakistan are increasingly cooperating on visas and tribal cooperation. In addition to China and Russia, or cooperative energy agreements and agreements to go in addition, United States uniquely key for a couple of reasons. The first argument is the nuclear weapons are really expensive to make it more, and it's less expensive to modernize current military technology by buying planes or tanks. The only reason why people are incentivized to do this is because the United States has literally twice as many strategic nuclear weapons as anyone else in the world. Next argument is the other states have the ability to challenge other states to proliferate. This next virus shows that sanctions show that we're capable of generating international exception to stop the countries from proliferating. This becomes more effective in the world in which the United States is viewed as being hypocritical. Anything else, Katie?
We make the distinction between the cost of a tactical nuclear weapon and the cost of a strategic nuclear weapon. One is much
One is much bigger. One is much more technically advanced. Strategic nuclear weapons cost a lot more than tactical nuclear weapons do. Turn, you say global cooperation works. We still have two W's. First argument is that there are agreements in place and there's an international framework in place for what tactical nuclear weapons mean, when it's acceptable to use and how they should be used. Where's the nuclear taboo around strategic nuclear weapons currently exist? This means that America look exceptionalist because when you're delinquent when triggered within the past, in addition, this doesn't cause proliferation because other countries have the ability to counter the type of tactical nuclear weapons specifically the problem. Next, you say U.S. not key economic incentive for different countries' capacity and cost above. This is completely false. There's an economic incentive to not proliferate. Advantage 2. Using diplomacy is only engage with nuclear weapons. This is the true world which hypocrisy happens. It causes two things. The first thing is that it decreases our soft power and ability to enter into international negotiations, decreases our ability to have these types of things. This is especially true within the current AGCTBT and STAR, which is a future scenario doesn't take into account. In addition, we also said that the building nuclear weapons is internally to terrorists because people think because individuals think that the only way to counter the United States' interest is to use terrorists and interact with terrorist actions. This means that this causes the United States to constantly engage in conflicts against terrorists, which decreases our soft power. More international focus means not focusing on diplomatic efforts. Next argument makes threat construction good. First argument is I don't understand why this is why your conditional counter plan doesn't also link to this. Next argument is that we don't fear extinction. Next argument is that you are these arguments about genocide and how we're capable of solving this. This isn't true. We articulate that strategic nuclear weapons are an instance of us prioritizing our arsenal over the individuals and the way strategic weapons are developed and tested. But in addition, I want to cross-apply the advanced room 2, which talks about nuclear racism and how certain countries are capable of having strategic nuclear weapons systems, which are not on the turn to genocide. In addition, it's key to solving diplomatic resolutions to problems. First argument is the permutation. The United States, via normal means, will eliminate its strategic. Where's our text? No, that's still theirs. Okay, permutation is that we're going to do the part of the counter plan that eliminates tactical nuclear weapons. Then we're going to keep the strategic nuclear weapons. This is competitive. This is theoretically legitimate because it takes the time to out the plan. And part of the counter plan, you're taking this capable of solving for the additional advantage as well as solving for the counter. When they see no reason why this why this permutation doesn't solve the issue. The next argument is turns out the next argument is that no solving tactical nuclear weapons are uniquely key to Israel for a couple of the tactical weapons are uniquely key to Israel for a couple of reasons. The first reason is because the nuclear taboo that currently exists, Israel knows that under no circumstances the United States is very unlikely to launch strategic nuclear weapons in order to protect Israel because it's not their own national interest, but Israel's national interest. Means the only way that the United States will be able to protect this is through use of tactical nuclear weapon. In addition, we wouldn't launch a strategic nuclear weapon on Iran anyways because it would literally only take a couple of tactical nukes to destroy the entire country. There'd be no incentive to break the nuclear taboo, which means tactical weapons are uniquely key to being able to have secondary capability. In addition to being able to deter Iran from acting within the future. The next argument is tactical weapons are the only thing that's perceived by the next argument is that Israel is already expecting to decline strategic nuclear weapons because this is the platform that Hegel Randall and platform that Obama has been advocating for you.
Okay, so will you clarify the permutation is eliminate all S&Ws, eliminate all TNWs, keep like the strategic, or keep the second strike capabilities,
Yes.
which is not classified as either.
What are the second strike capabilities? They're not S&Ws and they're not.
They're classified as second strike. They're not classified as TNWs or
Yeah.
S&Ws.
Well, we said entire nuclear stockpile.
Yeah, there are 3 sections of the nuclear stockpile. Tactical,
So-
strategic, and second strike.
Yeah, second strike is different.
TNWs can be second strike.
We have conventional second strike as well. We're eliminating all of the tactical nukes and all of the strategic nukes. That's the permutation. The next thing we say that this keeps solving for war because this keeps solving for war. Look, this is turn. The only way in which the ways in which nuclear wars are mutually assured destruction is capable of checking within the status quo. We're not launching strategic nuclear weapons. The only way this, sorry, this is absolutely ridiculous. Look, the counterplan makes a world in which the only way that the United States has to respond to threats is by strategically nuking a country and breaking the nuclear taboo. Either this means that we're not capable of breaking the nuclear taboo and that the counterplan is absolutely nothing to ease the concerns of Israel or any other country, or we are going to strategically nuke another country and set off a nuclear war because it causes retaliation to break the nuclear taboo. In neither of these instances are any impact gets generated by the negative team. Okay, disadvantage. First, Israel is concerned about system security because we're now to isolate enemies like that. We isolate Israel's moving to middle stance and snake down to fuel other ties. All the phrase next is that the cops of the naked civil text immigration policy made to encourage maybe because they have to integrate this era and threat them not them capable of doing this next segment plans to proceed to one of our triggered the link by the United States START Treaty or the Hagel Confirmation because he's already advocated going to zero to these strategic nuclear weapons and the backlash in addition to Lincoln's probably also triggered by funding cuts that happened within the short-term memories by strategic nuclear weapons is the key thing. Israel is relying on its defensive capacities. Next argument is that there's no unique scenario. I think Congress have it right now. There's no reason why you make it worse. And you think the United States intervene either they're not capable of doing this or they're capable of intervening to solve it. They throw one backlash.
Order the counter plan. Advantage 1, advantage 2. They said their background so I'm going to just add one thing on top, kind of a brief ML overview explaining key things in the round, then the counter plan, then advantage 1, then advantage 2, then the disadvantage, and if if it matters for some reason, I'll get solvency.
Okay. It's relevant.
Ready? Look, strategic nuclear weapons does not mean it's first strike. Strategic nuclear weapons are our second strike options. So the whole point of strategic nuclear weapons is they are so freaking big that we have them in the Navy and we have them in the United States in order for if another country was to ever attack the United States, then we would always threaten them with this idea that we could just blow them away. That is our argument. That's our argument. That's what strategic nuclear weapons are. It is purely defensive. They have conceded this argument. Strategic does not necessarily mean first strike. Strategic means that nobody would attack the United States because they are so freaking big, which means all their arguments is saying why S and Ws are offensive, and that's what solves proliferation is entirely a lie. This is not true. You should just probably gut check this argument. Additionally, they are conceding, so that is just a delineation between D and Ws and strategic nuclear weapons. Strategic nuclear weapons are entirely defensive. Let's go to the counterplan. First, they say perm, eliminate T and Ws and keep the second strike. First of all, our interpretation, is interpretation of legitimate perm is all perm, and part of all the counterplan text be the violation. They add the except they add words of the plan saying, and we will keep second strike our idea, and they add words by saying, and we are going to keep second strike intrinsic perms. This is not in either of the plan or the counterplan, because we literally get all of our nuclear weapons gone. All of them gone. That is what they said, our entire nuclear stockpile. It doesn't matter if there's 3 things to them, because we get rid of all of them except for the strategic nuclear weapons, which means nowhere in the counterplan, nowhere in the plan do second strike nuclear weapons even exist, which means that this, which creates a moving target, is an a priori reason to reject, because that means they can always do perm, do this, and not, they can always say perm, do the plan, plan and a counterplan, but then add a whole bunch of other things, which means we'd never be able to find. Additionally, in a world in which you eliminate S&Ws, you eliminate the nuclear umbrella, which means you're always going to be getting into our Israel disadvantage. Next, they say that we don't solve because the TWs are key to Israel. First of all, they are purely defensive and make up our nuclear umbrella, which means that if anybody tried to attack any of our allies, we would respond with a strategic nuclear weapon. That is the reason why they're so big to defend anything. To defend anything. They just try to say, to defend anything, which answers that. Additionally, they say that they don't go to that we never attack anybody with T&Ws. That is our argument. Our argument is that T&Ws are purely offensive, which means that if we're going to the offensive, then we would do that. The reason why we would not strike Iran with a T&W was because Iran probably isn't acting aggressively in the status quo. If they were to attack Israel, though, then Israel would be under our strategic nuclear umbrella, which means that we would be able to attack them with our, we would be able to defend them with our S&Ws, which is the reason why they are always key. I'll get you at the bottom. Next, they say T&Ws are good because Obama and Hagel advocated this. First of all, this is not this isn't our argument. Our argument is that they are afraid, Israel is afraid in the status quo that Obama and Hagel are going to drastically decrease the strategic nuclear weapons arsenal in the status quo. In fact, Obama announced that they may do this in the status quo, which means that Israel is super freaked out right now, but they just need the actual link. I don't know what this argument even means. T&Ws are not good. T&Ws are like purely offensive, which means that Israel doesn't care about them because they don't care about U.S. military offensive. They only care whether or not the United States is ever going to be able to defend Israel in the instance in which Israel has been attacked.
TWs are not key to us retaliating against Iran. We can use conventional
Yeah.
weapons.
Additionally, TWs are not key to us retaliating against Iran. We can use conventional weapons, which means the only scenario in which Israel gets freaked out is a world in which we no longer have the nuclear umbrella. Next, you say that the counterplane is super bad because that means that we can only use super big nuclear weapons. That's our point. Our point is that we can only use super big nuclear weapons, and the chance that anybody was going to attack us, which means that nobody would want to attack us because they never want to get blown away. This is not a reason why we don't solve the case because, but I'll get to that anyways. On proliferation. First of all, you extend our first argument that you're completely flawed. We do not deploy strategic nuclear weapons. They completely conceded this argument. They just say that we have strategic nuclear weapons in order to protect our power. Yeah, protect from an attack. And if they try to attack us, then we are going to try to blow them up with strategic nuclear weapons, which is why nobody would do this. Additionally, they conceded that TWs are the ones that we have forward deployed, like in Turkey and in all the regions in Europe, which they said the reason why Russia proliferated, which means that TWs are actually the internal link to other people proliferating. Additionally, in a world in which we don't have any nuclear weapons deployed foreignly because we can only have tactical nuclear weapons, it means we have to engage individuals diplomatically in order to try to have alliances with them instead of saying we are going to give you a whole bunch of nuclear weapons in your country, which means that we actually stop this idea that the United States is always going to be aggressive, but that the United States is always going to be aggressive, which means we're the only ones that actually solve cases because you still have foreign deployed weapons, which is the reason why people proliferate in the first place. Next, you try to have these terrorism, you try to have these reasons why, that also answers the reason why terrorism happens. Terrorism happens because they're pissed that the United States tries to go into their region and claim that this is theirs and that they're going to do all these things in their region. In a world in which we no longer have nuclear weapons near them, it probably means that they're no longer afraid of us, which means the counterplane is the only one that solves the case. Additionally, you try to say that you can sit on our argument that says we were always going to cooperation, that you don't actually lead into any sort of cooperation because we always have T&Ws. However, your argument is that, we have some sort of strategic number 4 argument.
What is she?
Advantage 1.
Okay.
Yeah, so look, our argument is that we have to force diplomacy because we don't have any sort of nuclear weapons that we can deploy in these arguments, which means that we actually solve it. What?
Answer the
Yeah, on the expense arguments, first of all, you don't really have an impact of this. What? We spend a little more money, that doesn't mean anything. And what matters is international perception of what nuclear weapons we actually have. If we have nuclear weapons that are going to be foreign to deploy, then probably they can see to one that's probably more exceptional than this because it feels as if the United States shouldn't have any of these nuclear weapons because something bad can happen if we have them. However, we can always have them forward deployed because others are lesser. Additionally, we give money to other people in order to actually do this. Next, our number 5 argument is that they have economic incentives in order to proliferate. They just say, no, they don't. But look at Pakistan. We give them $1 billion a day because we want to appease them because they have nuclear weapons, which is a pretty good argument as to why people have outside incentives in order to proliferate. You don't solve for the economy. People want to have the United States aid. Under advantage 2. First of all, you get extended number 1 that says the United States is diplomacy would actually decrease in the status quo. Diplomacy decrease in the status quo. The only reason why people listen to the United States in the status quo is because they understand that they want to be under the United States nuclear umbrella because they want to be under their umbrella because if they get attacked, then they want the United States to be able to defend them, which means that you would never want to be able to solve this. Their response is the reason why START doesn't work. However, first we did have START, which means that we did actually decrease this in the past. That we didn't see any of your plans happen. Additionally, our argument is that in a world in which we still have strategic nuclear weapons, nobody's going to be people are going to be afraid of the United States, which means that key. I don't need to go for these DECCON. Do you need anything else on case?
No, but I need
On to Israel. First of all, Israel, you can group the first two arguments how Israel's not doing this now, it's all plastering. This is because we destroy. This is our number 2 argument. Our number three argument that says the only reason why they're not doing this is that the status quo is because they have strong alliances with the United States. The United States is the one who's quelling them in the status quo, which means that only in a world in which the United States happens, there's always going to be a triad scenario. These are the best and reasons why Israel's not doing in the status quo, which means there's only a reason why Israel does it post-plan. Next, you can group the 3 and 4 arguments that say that, that Israel should have freaked out because of they should have freaked out because of funding cuts, but our argument is that they won't freak out in the world in which the United States still has a nuclear umbrella, because if the world in which Israel was going to be attacked, we would always be able to defend people, which means that Israel feels secure in a world in which we still have strategic nuclear weapons, which are key to like our triad, which is the nuclear, which is our nuclear deterrence. Fact, you say that this is not unique because it's not happening now, but our argument is yes, some has happened, but they have not fully enclosed the Palestinian neighborhood, which we can see is the only reason why Palestine would act super aggressively. Next, you can see the impacts. It said in a world in which Israel does actually act aggressively and completely circles this Palestinian neighborhood, they at least bioweapons that kill everybody, and also millions of people dying because of ethnic conflict, which you can see to these arguments, which means that in a world in which the counterplay doesn't link because they are still under the nuclear umbrella and they get away from the nuclear umbrella, probably means that Israel doesn't freak out unless you do the plan. Onto these. First, all the reasons why counterplans doesn't solve. I literally answered all these reasons. I answered these terrorism reasons as like they only are terrorists because we have TNWs near their land. We get rid of those. Counterplan solves 100%.
Overview. Disarm. Advantage 1. Okay, on bottom. Okay. Is everybody good? At the end of this debate, there are a couple questions that you have to resolve on each sheet of paper. The first one is whether or not having strategic nuclear weapons or TNWs makes prolif more likely. We are going to win the argument that any plan which would keep TNWs would always make proliferation more likely because those are the only type of nuclear weapons which we can actually deploy and move into other countries. So long as we have the ability to take nuclear weapons and put them in other countries, put them on our enemy's border, proliferation is inevitable. The only instance in which proliferation could be solved is in a world in which we no longer have the capacity to move nuclear weapons on people's borders, and when our only result for going to war is our absolute last result for going to war, which is strategic nuclear weapons, which means that we would solve war better and we would stop proliferation. Additionally, the Israel disact. If the proliferation arguments or if H2 go either way, then Israel is the tiebreaker because this will not be solved in the world of the plan or in the world of the perm. They concede the link scenario that Israel has a very unique security guarantee because their population is so small. They could be knocked out. They could all die if they're ever hit by one nuclear weapon. That means that this is why this is key to their security policies because they want all of their enemies to be underneath that same security threat. That is what fuels their policies. Not answering these arguments is devastating because in the counterclaim, in the perm or in the plan, when you get rid of S&Ws, you force Israel to increase the settlements within the West Bank, to act aggressively and to backlash, which would cause millions of people. But they also didn't answer the arguments that I made in the LOC, which said that when Israel starts to backlash against the West Bank, and that means that the United States has to intervene and the other countries do too. When Megan drops this argument, she also can see that this shifts the link to the uniqueness of all of their plan, which means that their plan doesn't get any solvency when immediately post-plan the United States is forced to start intervening in other countries, and then their allies have to come in as well. Dropping this argument is devastating because that means that proliferation is inevitable and their plan is never solved. Additionally, we also have the net benefit of ethnic conflict and genocide, which they concede. They're going to go over the arguments that this should have happened because of the START. I preempted this coming out of the LOC. That first of all, START was years ago, it doesn't matter. And two, the second link scenario is whether or not the fears will be actualized. That whether or not claims politicians make will actually come into reality after they have been confirmed. Whether or not Hagel's platform will actually be true. He made these arguments before he was confirmed. He hasn't said anything since. That means that they are specifically looking to how he will act after office, which means that any world in which the fears are actualized, they will act aggressively. So it is a try or die to keep all strategic nuclear weapons, to stop this from happening, stop ethnic conflict, and stop the reversal of proliferation. on the proliferation dissent. They're probably going to go for the econ arguments, but they can see that there is an economic benefit for countries to proliferate because we give money to countries who have nuclear weapons because we want to be friends with them. That's why we give billions of dollars of aid to Pakistan and why we sanction the shit out of out of Iran. This came out of the LOC. Additionally, which means that there will always be an economic incentive to proliferate. Additionally, you are conceding all the arguments that says that proliferation will always be worse in a world in which T&Ws exist. Yeah, well, T&Ws exist because we could all just move our strategic nuclear arsenal anywhere, move our strategic arsenal anywhere. Additionally, you are also conceding an argument that says that T&Ws and S&Ws are second strike capabilities. So all their arguments about why S&Ws are bad would still link into their perm. Go to the counterclaim. This perm is absolute nonsense. Second, strategic nuclear weapons give you second strike capabilities. They're second strike weapons. Those are not like classifications of weapons. Which means that they would still, which means that the perm is literally non-functional. Additionally, you can stand across the theory argument about why intrinsic perms are bad because they would always destroy and collapse debate. Easy a priori reason to vote there if everything looks like a wash. Either way, counterclaim solves for everything better and doesn't risk the dissad.
Can you give me my pins over
Yeah.
Okay, the order is the 1AC in the 1AC order. Solvency advantage, one advantage two. Counterpoint dissent. Oh, no, never mind. Sorry, solvency advantage two. Counterpoint reset.
Sorry, okay, I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
Solvency, advantage two, counterpoint dissent.
Okay.
The affirmative outweighs only the affirmative is capable of resolving the proliferation question. You can see other countries have tactical nuclear weapons, which means that proliferation happens uniquely because other countries have to build up their nuclear arsenal to match the strategic nuclear facilities of the United States. Only eliminating strategic nuclear weapons solves proliferation. This is the internal link to solving miscalculation and terrorism. So I guess I'm actually going for advantage. All right, solid. First argument, you concede an argument that says that strategic nuclear weapons means that they use fewer steps. This uniquely leads to miscalculation, which causes a distinction level scenario on advantage one. I don't know why you're conceding a distinction level scenario, but it's going to outweigh the risk of the dissad. The fewer steps means that there's a unique risk of miscalculation. When you get rid of getting rid of S&Ws has a unique benefit because they're not reliable, which means that using them as the only source of security means that they could easily be accidentally launched or miscalculated, which means that they are not a unique security benefit for Israel. This internally linked turns the dissad makes the counterpoint insolvent in the face of the miscalculation or accidental launch outweighs the risk of a dissad because it creates nuclear war on a faster time frame. This is an extinction level scenario that complicates the internal link to your dissad because it happens on a faster time frame or on a longer time frame. Advantage. Okay, the argument that I'm making is from advantage 2, but it is in response to an argument that they made on advantage 1 that I think is an intuitive cross application. You say that we increase terrorism, but you are conceding an argument that says the terrorist perception, the incentive for terrorism will increase in a world where the U.S. continues to boost its strategic nuclear weapons arsenal because terrorists think that it is necessary to counter U.S. interests, which means that the perception that the U.S. will go straight to S&Ws creates a worse and higher fear among terrorists, which increases the risk of terrorism because they feel a stronger incentive to counter U.S. interests. You concede this argument, which means that we get access to it. It functions as an independent dissent. The counterpoint is the reason why reducing to only strategic nuclear weapons creates a higher risk of terrorism. Terrorists are likely to steal a nuclear weapon. This means that, or to at least cause ethnic conflict, and because that is how terrorists operate. Okay, you guys have timer? Yeah. All right. Yeah. I don't know why I keep doing this. Okay. The terrorists are much more likely to engage in ethnic conflict, which means that an internally linked or disadvantage causes the impact of the dissent to be much more probable in worlds where terrorists who identify individuals based on their ethnicity and induce violence against them have a greater incentive to act against the United States.
Order. Any arguments about how terrorism would somehow resolve the internal link to the dissad is entirely new. The only response is that nuke buildup is the internal link to terrorism.
Well, if you're granting me the internal link, and I'm making a comparative impact statement of the probability of my impact versus your impact, and which one is more likely to be causal, then I think that you just made the response that I was going to make in my responding to your point of order.
The whole point that it solves is what you're saying, not comparison.
I'm saying that it is a comparative statement of the probability of yours versus. It just went. Okay. How much time do I have? I'll just put it in.
Yeah, this is a dumb.
Alright. Counterplan. The permutation is capable of resolving the dissent even if you don't give us the permutation. The counterplan will not stop proliferation because proliferation and because of SNWs is due to larger weapon magnitude, which means that the case outweighs a risk of the dissent. Permutation debate. Permutation does the entirety of the plan and removes all strategic nuclear weapons as part of the counterplan, which is tactical nuclear weapons that are not a second strike. It's theoretically legitimate. Also, the plan text does not require us. Does not require us to clarify because it only eliminates strategic nuclear weapons. We're not intrinsic. We're only clarifying to the extent of the plan text and clarifying to delineate between the counterplan and the plan. This intrinsicness is required for any permutation, which means that it is inevitable. It's also necessary. It's also necessary to test the competition of the counterplan. Also reject the argument of not the team. Also, we clarify that the second strike capabilities are conventional. We say that we can deter Iran with conventional weapons, which solves your dissent.
You said
Or you say that. Or the permutation, if you are right, and there are only SNWs and TNWs, that means that the permutation would go to US having 0, which probably solves our case best. But that is beside the point. The argument that I would like to make is the TNW's turn. I think you make several damning concessions on this TNW's turn. This indicates that either conventional weapons are good enough to deter, or that TNWs are necessary to solve Israeli concerns because they are a nuclear backup. We say that Israel and Iran are proximal enough that TNWs are going to be the weapons that they would prefer to be used in the region because SNWs would be too big. Look, if we SNW your neighbor, then it means that you are also going to be affected by the blast. You are also going to be affected by the electromagnetic pulse that radiates through Tehran. Also, you are going to be affected by the radiation. You are going to be much more likely to prefer TNWs. This is a huge dissent of the counterplan. You are incapable of resolving this. This independently outweighs any risk of the dissent because the dissent functionally flows in the opposite direction because you are reducing the arsenal to only the type of nuclear weapons that would make Israel more scared. Which means that even if Israel's like, oh yes, security, it's security that will go. Which means that a policymaker in Israel would be less likely to prefer the counterplan versus the plan, which means that it is more likely to trigger the link for dissent. We can stop conflict with conventional weapons, which indicates that we are capable of resolving any sort of security guarantee. You say that our conventional weapons are good enough now. Also, ethnic cleansing is not unique. It's happening in the status quo where you can see that only a risk of terrorism as a result of the counterplan increases this. Also, no terminal impact for bioweapons, and they don't cause extinction outweighed by the YAC.